let's get straight into it with the financial closes. You followed the Zero deal, Leonard?
Yes. So Zero Generation secured a £200 million construction debt for a co-located solar PV and BESS portfolio backed by NordLB, ING, Rabobank and Santander UK, including an accordion for future pipeline assets. One of the three projects is already announced. It's a 115 megawatt co-located solar PV and BESS portfolio site in Bramley near Hampshire, and it's due to start construction in autumn 2025 and will connect to the Bramley National Grid substation.
So this is a weird one, isn't it? Because that's the Bramley one is the only project that they've kind of unveiled, but they still wouldn't confirm the capacity split between the solar and the BESS element.
That's true. Not so far.
Yeah, the other two projects, and this 200 million. Am I right in assuming that this is not just the capex facility? There's an accordion built into it.
Yes, that's correct.
It's interesting because Zero currently is up for sale. We don't know what the sale when the conclusion of the sale process will occur. It was meant to be wrapped up last year, but I think we've seen a lot of this on the renewables M&A side. Kind of people, I think the owners here, in this case Macquarie, are kind of sitting for the waiting for the market conditions to get better before they agree on a deal. But as far as we are aware, it's still very much on the market, but I guess they're just getting on with the pipeline delivery.
Yeah.
On to the more controversial one, FTTH, CityFibre.
Yes, CityFibre has closed a £2.26 billion funding round, including a £500 million in equity from existing shareholders and £960 million in new debt, arranged by a 10-bank syndicate, and an additional £800 million accordion facility also positions the company for future M&A activity in the space to scale its competence in the UK fiber market. And the company now reaches 4.5 million premises and aims to hit 8 million with its new XGS PON network technology. So I guess this financing funding round is well in line to reach these 8 million premises.
That's interesting. I mean, the tables appear to have turned for CityFibre, because I remember covering the debt packages for CityFibre back in 2022-23 when they've tried to arrange a 4.9 billion debt package underwritten by 5-6 banks, including SocGen and NatWest. And the lenders at that point, the underwriters at that point, had a very difficult time trying to syndicate the debt because of the structure of the UK FTTH markets. Unlike other markets such as France and Germany, there is a lot of overbuild risk for FTTH developers here in the UK. And because of that, when you the lending for these projects, they tend to be quite harrowing to begin with. But this particular deal, the 4.9 billion deal in 2022, turned sour very quickly, and the underwriters, I remember, had to call flex on the deal twice. So this is a process by which the lenders go back to the borrower and say the interest rate they agreed on is just unsustainable because of how the market is reacting to the deal. So that happened twice, which is really not a good sign. And I think a few bankers that arranged the deal got into trouble for this, but I guess this one went ahead far more smoothly, from my understanding. How many lenders were on the package? Do we know? 10 lenders. And the original backers, including Goldman Sachs.
Goldman Sachs, Antin Infrastructure Partners, Mubadala Investment Company, and Interrogo Holdings.
Yeah, and they all put in the equity.
Yes, the £500 million.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, on to the third financial close this week. Osprey Charging, a UK-based EV charging network operator, secured a 110 million loan from 4 lenders, including SocGen and the UK's National Wealth Fund, to install rapid charging charging points across the UK. They haven't said how many charging points this new funding will deploy, but they did say that they have a target of reaching around like 400 charging points per year. And I think the interesting interesting with this deal is the involvement of NWF. They came in for a 25 million ticket, and the remaining three banks kind of took, we understand, took similar tickets with around 28 million each. But NWF's involvement, they've said that this is to further UK government's proposed ban on internal combustion vehicles by 2030. We don't know if that ban will be upheld given how slow the EV uptake has been, but they NWF has said that this is them kind of trying to push the market towards that target. So this is quite a straightforward deal, and from our understanding, it was executed in a very timely fashion. And finally, onto the offshore wind. I mean, one of the few positive stories for offshore, it seems like lately. Developers Iberdrola and Mazda have secured a 3.6 billion sterling, 4.1 billion euro loan to fund their East Anglia 3 offshore wind farm. This is a 1.4 gigawatt offshore wind farm off the English coast. So 23 banks came in on this debt package, most of them quite, the usual players, like we're told. But the interesting players is not all the usual players came in on this deal. My inquiries, when I was trying to find out the lenders list for this, as we do with after every financial close, a couple of them said, yeah, we looked at the deal, but it was the structure was way too aggressive for their liking, which essentially means that the cost of debt, the lending terms, were not enough. The rate of return for the banks was not high enough for them to actually consider a ticket, which is quite notable because not even 2-3 years ago, an offshore wind deal, any bank that had the capacity to lend to it were in on the deal. So even this deal, they say, was oversubscribed. But it's nice to see that the banks, not nice, but it's interesting to see that the banks are kind of becoming more conservative, even lending to this very well-established asset class. The rate of return is becoming a lot more focal to the discussion than just, okay, offshore wind deal, we must be seen as being on it. So apart from that, this is pretty much a cookie-cutter deal, and this is part of a wider partnership between Iberdrola and Mazda. And the offtake of this offshore wind farm, it was initially put up for a subsidy under the AR4 auction, where the strike price for offshore wind was 37.35 sterling per megawatt hour. But Iberdrola decided to pull 158 megawatts capacity from the AR4 auction and rebid it for a higher tariff under AR6, where the tariff for offshore wind for this project was 58.87 sterling per megawatt hour. Again, this is kind of a reflection of how the developers are having to readjust their capex cost for offshore wind farms due to high supply chain, the interest rate,